Hi, you all. This is Miss Lydia. I am coming back. It has taken me 6 days to get around to making this video. The last one I did, I said we was going to discuss pornography and the marriage bed. And every day, things had come up to prevent me from making this video. So I'm going to say some things on this video. And what I want you to do is make sure the children are not in the room. And if you are listening to this while in your car, and there are children in the car, please wait till you get home and can listen to this in your own private setting. I do not want children to be exposed to what I'm about to say. So I'm going to give you 5 seconds to clear the room, and we're going to go from there. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's jump right into it. Pornography and the marriage bed. I just had a conversation with a very close friend of mine this week, and she made a statement. She was responding to something that I said, and her response was, Lydia, I assure you that before 2 people get together, one of them has already been exposed to pornography. That is a thought that has never ever crossed my mind. And this is why I want to talk about it. I want to tell you about my experiences, young lady. I want to start in my 30s. In my 30s is what I want to tell you about, because that was when I was married. When I was with my spouse for 17 years. And I've been divorced now almost 25. So going into that area, you know, our mothers teach us how to be chaste. They teach us how to prepare a very fulfilling meal on a budget. Our mothers teach us how to use the proper utensils so when we go in public, we would not be embarrassing anyone by eating in public. And our mothers also teach us how to keep ourselves. And they would teach us how to speak. Mothers, I was born 1961. Mothers back there took their roles very seriously when raising their daughters. So right now I'm talking about daughters, women, just the daughters. We let the men talk about the men when the time comes. Now, in all of these conversations, no one ever sits down with a woman and say, you're about to get married. Let me tell you about the marriage bed. What can go on in the marriage bed? Is the marriage bed what goes on? Is it approved by God? None of that. I have a ton of girlfriends and their parents never sit them down to talk about the marriage bed. So we're going to talk about pornography, and we're going to talk about the marriage bed. Let's go. While in my 30s, I had gone back to school, and I've always enjoyed relations with my ex-husband prior to then. And when I went back to school, it was just never any time between studying, working a 50 to 60 hour week job, staying up all night and studying. If I got 2.5 hours of sleep a night, that was a blessing. Well, it was during this time, we had a rough patch for about 7 months, the worst 7 months of my life, because each time my ex-husband came near me and we had relations, I would end up in the gynecologist's office. Now, a woman only go once a year. I was going every 21 days for about 7 months. Now, the first 3 months, I really got frustrated. I was thinking that something was me because my ex-spouse was healthy as a horse. And I was healthy, I was athletic. There was just nothing wrong with me, but each time my spouse would touch me, I would end up in the gynecologist's office. So I knew it had to be him. During the time of relations, during this period, the activity would get intense. Let me just say that, would get intense. And on a few occasions, I said, look, I don't like this. This hurts. I don't want this. This hurts. And these are the exact words my spouse said to me, and I never forget it. One night, and it cut me to the core. He said, Lydia, it is supposed to hurt. Now, ladies out there, I'm going to tell you this, and if you're in your 30s, I'm twice your age, so listen to me. and listen to me very carefully. When you have relations with your husband, it is not supposed to hurt. For those of you all who are having relations with your partner or boyfriend, I'm going to repeat, it is not supposed to hurt. If it is hurting, you stop that activity, you go see your doctor, you get checked out, and you make sure he gets checked out. You can tell by looking at me that I'm a black woman. Well, guess what? Black women go to the doctor all the time. But you know who don't go to the doctor all the time? Our black men. So after repeated visits to the doctor, I'm telling the doctor repeatedly, something is not right. I'm tired of coming up here, getting this medication, these antibiotics. Something is not right. He never told me what the problem was. And then at the 7th month, he said, Miss Lydia, you going? I'm taking a trip out of town. I'm going to Africa or something. I think it was Egypt or Africa. They very close proximity. I said, no, you can't go. You know I'm here every 21 days. I'm going to need someone to take care of me. Well, he referred me to another doctor. Well, when I went to this doctor, now you got to remember, I'm about 32, 33 years old. I went to this doctor. This doctor was about 70 or 75 years old. There was no way in the world that doctor was going to see my cookies. He was not going to get his jollies off of my cookies. And the reason why I felt that way, you all, because when I was around 15 or 16, and at that time, ladies know that they may engage in sexual activities. So you're going to go and get protection. You're going to go to a clinic. You're going to visit them, get checked out. Well, when I got checked out, my mother wasn't with me. She would have killed me if she had known about this. When I got checked out, the nurse was in the room and she was shaking her head and doing this. So I already knew something wasn't right. And the doctor was talking to me in a fashion that I knew, even at 15 or 16, it was inappropriate. The way that he was talking to me. And then a year later, when my mother finally took me to the doctor, I noticed something. That gynecologist had gloves. So I knew then I had been molested on that table by some freaky doctor at the young age of 15 or 16. And I couldn't tell my mom I wasn't supposed to be there to begin with. Was I supposed to tell my mom? Mom, I'm contemplating having premarital sex. Now, you got to remember, I'm Baptist. We went to church on Sunday and came out on Thursday. There was no way I was going to have that conversation with my mother. So that was just something I had to keep with me for years. But one thing I do when I see a young lady, when I have girlfriends and I see that their girl is growing and developing, I will pull them to the side and I say, look, either you take her to a gynecologist to get checked out and you go with her. Don't let her go by herself. And I never shared the experience of what happened to me because I was truly embarrassed. As vocal as I was too embarrassed to tell anybody that I had been molested on a table with a doctor that should have been watching out for my best interests. So you all are hearing this for the first time. So anyway, I'm going to the new doctor. 75 years, I had a flashback. There was no way he was going to get a preview or whatever of my cookies. The nurse was in the room. She was trying to console me because I was just having a flashback moment. And she kept saying he's one of the best doctors around. He would take care of me. And she really had to talk to me for about 10 or 15 minutes just to calm me down, to let him do the exam. And he put on gloves, so that made me feel good. And then when he went to do the inspection, oh, that's an awful word. I'm in the mortgage business and people inspect homes. So let me just say, when he went to do the observation, that's a better word when you're looking at a human body, to observe what was going on in that area. As a doctor, he said, damn, just like that. So I said, oh my gosh, I'm going to be embarrassed. What is going on? What is he going to say? And he said, how long have you been married? And I guess I was a little slow to respond because I'm still in my flashback moment, sort of, kind of. And he said, ma'am, Are you a honeymoon? Are you and your husband just finished your honeymoon? And I said, no, we've been together at that time. We've been together 13, 14 years. And he said, damn again. And he couldn't actually observe me do a thorough observation like a pap smear because I was so swollen down there from having relations with my husband. He couldn't do a thorough pap smear. He couldn't get in that area. It was too swollen. And it was too painful. And the best way I can describe it to you ladies, if you have never experienced that, it's like having something between your legs and you got to walk like a duck because you're swollen down there, so you don't walk properly. That's number one. And the pain was so severe, the fire, the burning was so severe, I just wanted to put myself in a Kroger cart, roll myself up to the fire station, tell them to turn on the hose and hose it down. That's how much fire was going on in that area. So I was absolutely miserable for 6 to 7 months of that marriage. And after he did more observations, he came to the conclusion and he said, get her husband on the phone right now. But they couldn't get my husband on the phone. They could not. And he made me stay there. And he waited about another 10 or 15 minutes. And he just simply told me, he said, I'm going to tell you this. Your husband is too rough with you. He is not having relations with you. I don't know what he's doing, but it is not relations. What he's doing is so bad that if he keeps this up, you're going to end up having a hysterectomy. I want you to know this is not on you. This is on your spouse. You all, a burden came off of me at that time because I thought that maybe with me being in school and working all those hours, that part of it was me because I was stressed. But my intuition, my spirit inside of me was still telling me it was my spouse. Well, the doctor finally got my spouse on the phone. I'd already left the doctor's office, and that evening my spouse apologized. And I looked in his eyes and I could tell he was sincere because his eyes was red. And he apologized over and over and over again. And that was fine. But with the way that I was brought up, when I went into the relationship, my spouse only had half my heart. And I'm sorry, I just couldn't give a whole heart. I saw what men do in relationships. I had a trust factor. Now, I did trust him to an extent. I did respect him, things of that nature, but I had a wall around half my heart. So that night that he told me was supposed to hurt, if you only have half a heart, now you're down to 1/4 of a heart. But I can tell at that time that he was sincere when he apologized. And then we had to go see a urologist, and they wanted me to be there. And when I was there with the urologist, and they were explaining things, what was going on with my husband's body, the urologist made it very plain. He said, spouse, you have a bacterial infection. Now, it doesn't bother you at all. It can live inside you until you die. But what happened when you have relations with your wife, you pass that bacterial infection on to her, and it's killing her. So if you all want to have children in the future, you're going to have to take these pills, and you're going to have regular visits and come back and see me until I say that you're cleaned up. Well, we couldn't have relations anyway for about 30 days. Yeah, I was praising the Lord to be free from 30 days from having relations because it would be so painful. The consequences of it would be so painful during and afterwards. So anyway, remember when the doctor, in the beginning of this, I said the doctor asked me, did I watch, no, I didn't tell you that. He asked me, did I watch movies? I said, don't have time. I'm in school full time. I go to work full time. I don't watch movies. He said, do you watch those movies? I had no idea what he was talking about. Okay? The doctor did. I did not. So we're going to fast forward this. I have been divorced now, and maybe about 12 years. I was at the University of Tennessee in a pharmacy intern program. And I was having a hard time with pharmaceutical equations. Got through trigonometry, got through calculus, got through physics, did pharmaceutical calculations, and I knew I was going to kill somebody because I could never get that quantities. I could never get the equations correct. So anyway, I'm at the dining room table, at the lunchroom, and about 9 of the other students. The students range from 21 to 26. I'm going somewhere with this. Don't cut me off. You got to listen to me. Range from 21 to 26. I'm studying, trying to get these pharmaceutical calculations. The young lady from Howard University, because the students from all over the United States coming to University of Tennessee. Anyway, we were sitting down, and she made a statement. She said, I gotta find me a new boyfriend because the one that I have, he just not doing it right. He does not know how to take care of me down there. He's just doing it all wrong. I'm listening and studying, more so studying than listening. And the chemistry major said, all right now, we are all going to be doctors. Let us use the right word. The correct word is cunnilingus. So the young lady from Howard said, Miss Lydia, am I right or wrong? If he's doing it wrong, if he's doing the cunnilingus wrong, and it's okay for me just find me somebody else. This conversation went something like that. I have never heard the word cunnilingus before in my life. So of course I said, who went to the Congo trying to learn a new lingo? Table just burst out laughing. The brothers at the table burst out laughing, and they thought I was kidding. They said, Miss Lydia, just funny. So one of the younger brothers, ages 21 to 26, is the age group. Now all of these already had their bachelor's degrees. A couple of them already had their master's. They was going to school to be doctors. We all were. And the brother said, look, if he doesn't know what he's doing, he can go on the internet, or I can talk with him, meet up with him, and give him a few tips. But that's one thing he got to get right. The reason why I'm sharing this with you all is because I'm 48 at the time. These kids were 21 to 26, and they were discussing oral sex. And when they finished talking about cunnilingus, the chemistry student major said, now we got to finish. We had talked about cunnilingus. Let us talk about fellatio. You all look it up. Anyway, both of those are oral sex terms. One's for the female, one is for the male. She said, we got to talk about fellatio. And of course, the men at the table are high-fiving each other. And I'm just looking at these students saying, oh my gosh, I wish someone had set me down at their age or younger and discussed the things that they were discussing at this table so openly. So what I'm about to tell you all is this. Ladies in your 30s and your 40s, and if you're my age, I'm 60, my age group, the mothers in my group, did not teach us anything about the marriage bed. Now, I'm going to tell you this because I'm in finance. I've been reading the Commercial Appeal since the age of 9. That means I've been reading it for 51 years. And they repeat the same article almost every year. The top 2 causes of divorce in America is finance and sex. Finance and sex. You all, if you make enough money and the sex is not good, you can take a trip to Egypt or go somewhere, buy some toys, and you can probably make do for a while, for a long while, depending on how much money you have. But if the money not good and the sex is bad or not where it should be, you most likely going to end up in divorce court, or you're going to end up with somebody committing adultery because they're not happy sexually. So now let's talk about the marriage bed. In the marriage bed, it tells you in 1st and 2nd Corinthians. I'm not going to tell you which Corinthian. I want you to read them both. About the marriage bed. It clearly tells you that the husband body belongs to the wife body belongs to the husband. And what you two agree to do in the marriage bed is okay by God. So if y'all want to get y'all freak on in that marriage bed, it's okay by God. And I'm going to repeat and put in quotations, marriage bed. That means husband and wife. It's okay by God. To you Christian women, told in the Bible, whose mother has pounded into your head how to be chaste and never told you what goes on in the marriage bed. I'm going to tell you this, a whole lot of things going on in the marriage bed, and have a lot of fun with it, and don't feel guilty with having fun with your spouse in the marriage bed, because that's going to become your sanctuary. When both of you all come home, you're tired, you take care of the children, that is the time for you two to connect mentally and physically. And it's okay by God to have fun in that marriage bed. And one thing I will have to tell anybody who's getting married, you all have to set expectations. Before you get married, you have to talk about sex. And talk about it. Talk about what you like. Talk about what you don't like. Talk about how many times you want it every week. You may want it once a week, and the other person may want it 5 times a week. You all need to have a conversation about those things. So when it comes to pornography, pornography does not belong in the marriage bed. Those are actors and actresses. They get paid to perform. You are watching a performance. So don't take your spouse to the marriage bed and abuse his or her body because you saw this in pornography. They get paid. Your spouse don't. They are doing this as an act of love, and brutalizing their body is not an act of love. Love is kindness. Love is gentle. Love is respecting your partner's boundaries. So pornography does not belong in the marriage bed unless both of you all agree to it. Now, the actual marriage bed itself, please, before you get married, you're going to talk about your finances. You're going to talk about children, because some of you are going to go into this marriage with blended families. You're going to talk about a lot of things. So it would behoove you to talk about sex. Who wants it? How often? What positions? What's good? What's not so good? So you all will go into this marriage with clear expectations, and then have fun discovering the rest along the way. Well, now you have heard from Miss Lydia. We have talked about pornography. We have talked about that it doesn't belong in the marriage bed unless both of you all agree. We have talked about that what goes on in the marriage bed between husband and wife is approved and okay by God, because He made those bodies for husband and wife to enjoy themselves with each other. It is perfectly okay. So you married couples that want to get your freak on in the bedroom, go for it. Whoopee, have a lot of fun. You single folks out there that's practicing, this video is not for you. Anyway, thank you all for listening. This is Miss Lydia, and you all have a great weekend. Bye now.